Hello, hello to all the parents of the next generation. It's Megan Borella here, your positive parenting and happy home guide. A big hello. We are so excited to be here today for this special guest expert interview with Loena B. Rodgers, nutrition detective, as she shares how she empowers parents with nutritional literacy and food as medicine techniques to understand what's going on beneath your children's behavior and replenish the nutrients that the brain and digestion needs to perform at best. Lumina, thank you so much for being here. And you can learn all about her upcoming classes and offers in her Facebook group, Kids Food Academy. Lumina, it's always a joy. We have invited you in to speak, to share your expertise multiple times. I always learn so much with every talk that you give. And so thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Megan. Hello, everyone. Hi, Leah, Suzanne. Hi, Allie. Thank you all for being here. As Megan shared, I am the nutrition detective. I help parents with taking back their child's health using real food as medicine techniques. And for my adult clients, I help with getting off of medication, preventing and reversing those chronic conditions that may be going on in the body, reducing inflammation, figuring out, what is stopping you from losing weight or really feeling confident about how you want to look and align your eating with your health and wellness goals. So that's what I do. As Megan was saying, I have offers and classes and things like that come up. And I really help my clients understand what's going on beneath what we really see. And so that's where the nutrition detective title came into play, because I really love to get into the business of everything and even the places they don't want us to look as parents. So that's why I'm the nutrition detective. I love to investigate, research, dig in, and see exactly what's going on in your kiddo's body. And I like to empower parents to do the exact same thing. So if you have any questions, I'm going to try and keep a watch on the chat. And as I kind of go through, probably at the end though, so I can kind of get through what I wanted to share today. And then I'll go back and answer questions. If you have any questions, I'll definitely look over those and try to get some answers to you at the end. Okay. So today, as Megan was saying, I want to talk about how you can balance your child's mood, anxiety with food so that you can have a successful school year this season. So first and foremost, I like to talk about the gut-brain connection and how important it is. A lot of times we don't consider this when we are dealing with our children and their behaviors, right? And so a lot of times you may not realize that you can change a lot through what you're feeding your child. And you can see a difference on the outside. And so when I say that, that kind of reminds me of Megan's Happy Home Week, right? It brings me back to the point of day one, where she was talking about cooperation and connection. And what I loved most about that is how she said, for cooperation, number one, it means teamwork, right? So in order for things to work, everybody has to be on the same page. And even when people are not on the same page, even when your kiddos are not on the same page as you still need them to be a team player, right? So my kiddo, I have a 7 and an 11-year-old, and my 11-year-old loves sports. And so I tell him all the time, he's always, gloating and talking about, LeBron James or, Michael Jordan or, Shaquille O'Neal, the great things that they do. But I tell him also, I said, well, here's the thing. In order for them to be great, guess what? You can't be great by yourself. You actually have to have a team. They can never go out and play by themselves, right? They can never win a game by themselves. You still have to have a team player. So I explained to him and I remind him, you need to be a team player, right? I can't help you unless you help me help you, right? And so when Megan was talking about cooperation means teamwork, I love, love, love that, because I definitely like to incorporate that when I'm feeding my kiddos, right? And I like to remind them of that, right? in order for this to work, we have to work together, right? So day 2, she was talking about the sponge brain, right? For me, I thought that resonated so much because my 7-year-old, he absolutely uses my brain, his dad's brain. And I think the most hilarious thing is when he is always repeating and regurgitating my quotes back to me. Especially when it comes to, the foods he eat or the foods he desires to eat, right? And so he explains to me, oh, Mom, it's organic. Or he says, when he wants a certain food, I'm like, no, you're not having pasta. Oh, no, Mom, but it's made of whole grains, right? So he's repeating what he hears me say to my clients, or if he hears me on a Facebook Live, he repeats these things back to me. So the great part about it is I know he's catching it, right? He's understanding the difference. When he wants milk, he will say, Mom, but this is grass-fed milk, that's why I'm strong, so he knows these things to look for. And so I appreciate, when Megan said, they're sponges, and, thinking about those concepts that our kids are using our brains to develop their own brain, right? And so I am very cognizant and, meticulous about, okay, how do I want to explain this to them, right? And so a lot of times when we're giving our kiddos food, also introduce why you're giving it to them and what part of the brain, what part of their body it's going to help. So that's very, very important because the kid is going to absorb, they're going to, soak up the information that we say to them, and they're going to repeat it back to you, right? My least favorite part. But I love that they understand and they are listening. And then when they are able to repeat it back, that means they're getting it. Something is sinking in. So, lastly, for Megan's, from the Happy Home Week that I loved was the mirror neurons concept. She said the big determinant of our children's behavior is how we respond to situations. And so I love how that transitions into what I want to talk about today about our children's anxiety, their mental health, right? How can we help them behave or respond differently in situations, right? And there's all kinds of moods and situations that may come up that may cause our children to respond or react in a certain way that may not be as favorable in terms of how we would like them to respond. So we have to be careful what we are mirroring to our children, right? And so how do you do that, right? So it brings me to my rule number 1 for us as parents. Rule number one, have you guys ever been on a flight? Okay. If you've ever been on a flight lately, or if you've ever been on a flight in your life, right? The first thing they tell you before they take the plane, before the plane takes off, they say, okay, put your mask on first. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the exact same thing when it comes to helping your child improve their behavior, their mood, their anxiety. Put your mask on first. Your mask is, how are you taking care of your mental health? How are you taking care of your stress level? And your stress level comes through your adrenal glands. Okay. So a lot of times you may not even think about, okay, what have I done to support my own mental health, my own mental stressors that may be affected the moment my child goes against the grain, do the opposite of what I tell them to do. So here is what I love to share with my parent community about taking care of yourself first, putting on your mask first, right? So number 1, you have to activate what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. So what is the parasympathetic nervous system and why is it so important here? Whenever our parasympathetic nervous system is decreased, it is not working on our behalf, right? That means the sympathetic nervous system is activated and we go straight into fight or flight. So you may think like, how do I know, or how do I know my kiddo is in fight or flight, right? So say, for example, if you have, something happens and your heart starts beating fast, that's fight or flight. Anytime you start breathing quickly, right? And then like you're worried about something and it becomes excessive, right? You go right into fight or flight, right? So your parasympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that allows you to think clearly, to be able to actually, come up with a rational explanation or a way to, work your way out of the situation you're in that you don't want to be in, right? To respond to negative situations or stressful situations calmly, Okay, so that's why the parasympathetic nervous system is so important. So number one, you have to put your mask on, and we're going to put the mask on by number one, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, how do you do that, right? So this is the part I love. It's very, very simple. So you may have never even thought about this, but on your hands, right? So we have the middle finger. You're going to take your middle finger and you're going to put it behind your earlobes. And you're going to take the rest of your hand and you're just going to rest your face in your hands. And you just take 5 to 7 deep breaths. And you're going to take deep breaths, breathe in and breathe out, right? So what we're doing is we are preparing ourselves for stressful situations. Even if you're having a stressful situation, you can do this. It helps you to calm down so you can think clearly so that you can decrease those cortisol levels so that you can actually get yourself out of the situation or get yourself to calm down so you can think, right? So the way you know you're doing it correctly, you also want to make sure that your palms, right? So your palms here, right? And this is like we're putting on our mask. This is our mask, okay? So we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. You're gonna make sure that your middle fingers are behind your earlobes, your palms are pressed together, and you're taking 5 to 7 deep breaths, okay? All right, so you should feel something happen, okay? So put your mask on first, right? Number two, in putting your mask on first, I want you to learn how to stay emotionally neutral, okay? Emotionally neutral. So when your child is trying a new food or a food that you know they may not like, I want you to practice what I call be an observer. Stop responding, reacting. Oh, how does that taste? Oh, that's interesting. You taste that it's sour or bitter, and I taste that it's, just kind of bland. I don't even taste that because kids are super tasters. Picky eaters, they are super tasters. They can taste things we can't even taste. And the older we get, the less we are able to taste because our taste buds actually change and evolve, right? So kids are super tasters. So they may be able to taste things that we cannot taste, and that's okay. But I want you to become an observer. You don't have to have a emotional connection to the way they experience food. You can be emotionally neutral, right? So that's the way we're going to put our mask on. So we're going to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. We're going to remain emotionally neutral when our kiddos are trying other foods. Let them have their own experience. Number three, adaptogens, right? So I don't know if you all have this in your home, but I urge you after today, make sure you keep them in your home. Matter of fact, if you're going to the grocery store, pick up some. So adaptogens help your body adapt to stress and balance back naturally and even faster, okay? So when you have the adaptogens in your body, they're going to help your body know that, okay, I'm okay, I can handle this, and I can, make sure I don't have to, freak out. I don't have to go into fight or flight, right? Because the moment you go into fight or flight, you can't think clearly. Your heart starts beating, right? And you are activating and you're increasing the cortisol levels, and you're also making sure that your body cannot respond in a way that you will be proud of after the fact, okay? So, no, adaptogens. What are adaptogens, right? So they are, number one, my favorite, mushrooms. Has not always been my favorite, but I want you to start incorporating mushrooms. If you are a woman, guess what? White button mushrooms are amazing for our female organs, reproductive organs, keeping the estrogen levels in balance, okay? So mushrooms, okay? The reishi mushrooms, the shiitake mushrooms, the cordyceps mushrooms are amazing for helping your adrenal glands remain in balance, okay? The other one that I love, ashwagandha. I love that you can get this in a drop, right? In drops, liquid drops. Ginseng, rhodiola. Keep these in your home because in the morning when you wake up and you know that you're not looking forward to what's going to happen, or you're not sure about what's going to happen, prepare yourself no matter what. Rule number one in any situation when you don't know what you're going to get, put your mask on first. Activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It will remain emotionally neutral. And then you're going to make sure that in the morning, start your day with some adaptogens, okay? And you can still use them all throughout the day. Yes, rhodiola. Yes, rhodiola was the last one that I said. Ashwagandha, ginseng, and rhodiola. There are lots and lots of different kinds of adaptogens that you can use, but those are some that help me, that come right to mind that a lot of people identify. And they have them in the drops. They have them in like powder form that you can add to your tea, to your to just 1 to 2 ounces of water. So easy to incorporate. You just chug it quickly and you're done, right? You feel that stress is ramping up again. Go ahead and get that. Carry some with you at all times, so that way your body can respond, and you can think clearly, and you can adapt to stress. Okay. And so that you're not, having your whole day thrown off because of one thing that happens. Okay. Yes, yes. So ashwagandha is safe for young kids. And the other thing that I love for kids are teas, right? So for for kids, lemon balm, chamomile, peppermint, they do wonders for kids in terms of helping them calm down. The other thing, one of the safer things for kids, food, mushrooms, okay? Chop up those white button mushrooms, chop them up, put them in their food. If they love pasta, if they love spaghetti, right? When you make that meat sauce, you can chop the mushrooms up so fine, they don't even know. It's like they melt into the sauce. And so you chop them up really fine, you put them in there, and know that you are helping them with adaptogens. You're helping their body adapt to stress, okay? And help the body to restore balance quickly. Very, very important, okay? So this goes well with the tips that Megan gave us last week, excuse me, for getting on the eye level and doing the positive touch and making sure that your kiddo knows that you want to be kind, firm and kind, but like, how do you help them from the inside out? This is the way you do that, right? So adaptogens not only work for adults, it works for kids as well. Number two. Next. What is going on beneath your child's mood? I'm sorry, Megan, you said, oops, did you have a question?
Oh no, I was just doing a numbering recap in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Didn't want to throw you off. Thank you.
No, you're fine. I was just wondering if there was something. Okay, number two. So number two for balancing mood with food for a successful school year is going to be understanding what's beneath your child's mood. Okay, so we want to talk about moods. Say, for example, anxiety is at an all-time high right now. We're having kids who are having, mental health issues, and we're not sure where it's coming from. So I just want to quickly highlight things that we need to be aware of after we put our mask on. Put your mask on, parents. Let's put our masks on. Once we have our masks on, we know what our kiddos are dealing with. And when they come to us with these particular anxiety issues, we know what to do, right? So our head is clear. We know how we're going to respond. So number one, peer pressure, right? Kiddos may have peer pressure. At 7 years old, my second grader, right? He's like, kiddo A, I'll say kiddo A did this today, and kiddo B did this today, right? And so I know, okay, how do I want to respond to this, right? Because I've taken my adaptogens, I've taken my ashwagandha, I've taken my, so that I'm not responding like, oh, we're going back up there, we're going to beat that kid up, right? No, right? That's not acceptable, right? So I have to give him a response, and I have to be able to support him to know that we can do this, we can handle this in a way that's going to be positive, in a way that you can stand your ground and say, okay, listen, you don't know me, look, if you want to be my friend, we're going to play. If not, I'm going to find somebody else to play with, right? But you got to have a level head to do that. So peer pressure, know that your kiddos are dealing with peer pressure. I mean, at 11 years old, my oldest, he's not having that issue right now, but he did cry. He did cry when they said that when the kids left, they had to go back from the pandemic. Remember when they said everyone had to go home? Oh, he boohooed and cried. He was so broken. He was, I won't be able to see my friends, right? So what do we do about those things? So that's what we're going to work on. Okay. So peer pressure. Know that they have peer pressure. Not being in the same class as their friends, right? When we went to back to school night, Wesley was so excited. My oldest was so excited that, you know, he had certain class with certain, you know, some of his friends and things like that. They were excited about that, right? So if they have friends, you know, and they're not able to communicate with their friends, that's going to be pressure and anxiety for them. Okay. Tests. They may have test anxiety. They may be nervous about taking a test. They may not be able to concentrate, right? So be aware that these things are current in our kiddos' bodies. They are having to deal with this, and we need to have tools and resources to help them. Okay. The other thing, a poor diet, right? So if their diet is filled with vegetable oils, or if their diet is filled with sugar and processed foods, right? This is actually going to lead to more mood swings. It leads to lack of energy. It leads to negative effects that impact their stress levels. So if you're noticing that your kiddo, you know, has a change of attitude about something, or they're not feeling like, you know, they're particularly interested in, you know, math or reading, or, you know, this particular subject, or this particular, you know, going to a party or something like that. Just take note of those kinds of things and know that, you know, it's a real feeling. It's a real emotion that they're having. And there is actually something you can do about that to support your child so that they can have a change of emotion, or they can actually know that they have a choice to adapt and respond differently to that kind of anxiety and stress going on in their life. Okay. So that's what's going on underneath. And so I want you to understand that your child has a second brain. So we all know about the first brain, right? And we're always trying to control the first brain. You know, we're always trying to work on that. But I want you to consider another concept, and that is the gut-brain connection. I love to help my parents work on the digestive system. So the digestive system is where a lot of partying goes on. Good and bad parties happen there. I'm sorry, something's on my eye. And so this is where we can actually change the mood of the child. We can change anxiety. We can change weight gain, weight loss. We can change, you know, the appetite, the foods they crave. We can change this through the second brain. And the second brain is the digestive system. And so in the digestive system, there is good bacteria and bad bacteria. The goal here is to make sure that the good bacteria is thriving, that is we have it in more abundance than we do the bad bacteria, okay? And so I want to talk about why the gut-brain connection is so important as it relates to your child's mood, because based on the kinds of bacteria that are thriving, that are living in your child's digestive system, it actually sends messages, specific chemical messages to your child's brain, and tells your child's brain what to ask for, right? It translates in the form of words. It translates in the form of emotions. It translates in the form of feelings and thoughts and the things they say to you, the way they respond, right? And so there are specific foods that I strategically feed my kiddos when they go to school to make sure that they can adapt, that they can respond, so that they can participate, so that they can, you know, feel like, okay, I got this, I can do this, right? And so this is what I want to share with you all today. So the enteric nervous system. So as it relates to the digestive system, there are more nerve endings that go from your child's digestive system to their brain than any other organ in the body. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this concept or not, but as we know, the heart is the most powerful organ in the body that communicates with the brain, but the digestive system actually has more nerve endings that go to the brain and control what happens in the brain and what types of signals and communication is released, okay? So the reason I say that is because I want you to know when the communication, the chemical signals that go from the digestive system to the brain, they're called neurotransmitters. This is important because I know you guys have heard of the serotonin. I know you've heard of dopamine. You may have also heard of norepinephrine, right? How about GABA? Have you heard of GABA? That's a very, very important one. Here is the thing. When the communication is off, when the communication is imbalanced, when there are low levels of serotonin going to the brain from the digestive system, we are seeing things like child is upset, right? They can't concentrate, they can't focus, they're very irritable. Things that we feel shouldn't upset them is upsetting them because they don't have the right communication going from their digestive system, which is where we put the food in, it goes down into the digestive system, and then it starts sending up signals to the brain, okay? So when we want to change the mood, when we want to change the way they feel, the excitement about something, we do that through the digestive system, okay? And we do that also through the foods we feed them that can supply the correct neurotransmitter or hormone to send the correct message to the brain, okay? So now I want to share with you the nutrients that basically comes from the digestive system that supports the digestive system to send the correct messages to the brain, okay? So when we talk about the gut-brain connection, right? How do we make that line of communication more clear? How do we make sure that our kiddos are getting what they need so that they feel excited, so that they are motivated, so that they can concentrate in the classroom, so that they have high self-esteem? How do we do that from the inside out, right? How do we do that with food? Well, that's what I'm going to get into now. Number 3, nutrients that replenish the neurotransmitters in that gut-brain connection. Number 1, I want to talk about serotonin. So that's the happy hormone. So not sure if you all know this, but I want you to write it down and I want you to remember it. The happy hormone, right? So if your child has enough of serotonin in their body and, everything is going well, you may notice that they're more happy, right? But here's what happens when there's not enough serotonin in your child's body. They may experience sadness. They may become depressed. They may be very, very irritable. They may have anxiety. They may even crave sweets. And when you're upset, sweets is the last thing you need to eat, right? Actually, the body and the brain specifically needs healthy fats if you're craving sweets. So even though the body wants sweets, the brain needs healthy fats. Now that's a crazy miscommunication that's going on. No one ever talks about it, but that's the honest truth of what's happening, right? And so when the body is craving sweets, that means the bad bacteria in your child's digestive system is not, is thriving, and the good bacteria is actually dwindling off. So, but there's a way we can reverse that. So 90% of the serotonin that is produced in your child's body is produced in the digestive system. It's in the gut. And so based on what you feed them, you can actually transform and increase the levels of serotonin that is going to the brain to help your child have a better mood, a better appetite for healthier foods, less anxiety, less cortisol levels. So making sure that they're not, highly irritated by certain things that we feel shouldn't bother them, right? Or that they can bounce back. So that's what's uber important here. So now I'm going to give you a couple of foods that can actually help the neurotransmitters be produced in the digestive system and make sure that they send the right message up to the brain. So we're talking about serotonin, the happy hormone, okay? So in order for serotonin to be produced in the brain and get up to, get the right message up to the brain, we need tryptophan to be present. Okay, so how do we get tryptophan? You get tryptophan from the following foods. I'm not going to give you an exhaustive list, but this is just a couple for you to keep in mind. Pasture-raised eggs, okay? Pasture-raised eggs. Now, a lot of people would just tell you eggs. You'll probably never hear me say eggs. You'll always hear me say pasture-raised. Why? Because you probably heard the saying, you are what you eat. But I want to take it one step further in the words of Dr. Stephen Gundry and say you are what you eat, but you're also everything that thing ate, you are that too. So think about that. If the hens are eating soy and corn and food that is genetically modified, the nutrients that go into the eggs that they hatch, that they lay, that goes into your child's body. And are they getting the actual nutrients that they need from those eggs? Probably not. So instead of that egg being high in a healthier fat, which would be the omega-3 essential fatty acids, it's going to be higher in omega-6 fatty acids. And omega-6 fatty acids are highly inflammatory. I want you to think about that. So that's why pasture-raised eggs are going to be more advantageous, more important, more healthy for your child, because the hens actually get to forage for their own food, okay? So that's why we want to look for pasture-raised eggs, okay? And you're going to get those nutrients, and you're going to get that tryptophan, which helps the serotonin to be produced in the digestive system and go up to your child's brain, okay? Next, wild-caught seafood. Wild-caught seafood. You'll never hear me say, yeah, grab some seafood. No, I will tell you, wild-caught. Very, very important, because we don't want the seafood that we give to our children to have consumed anything that has been genetically modified, or the fish or the seafood has not chosen its own diet. They know exactly what it is they need to eat. So letting them select their own food is more healthy for the child as the child consumes the fish or the seafood, okay? Next, nuts and seeds, okay? Very, very specific on that as well. There are some nuts that are inflammatory, okay? And so we want to make sure that we are choosing nuts like walnuts, okay? Walnuts, it looks like a brain. My goodness, those things are exuberant, high in omega-3 essential fatty acids, okay? Pumpkin seeds, amazing for vitamin E, okay? The child's brain need that, and it's also high in magnesium. Everybody knows magnesium helps help your child to calm down, helps the nervous system to calm down, okay? So the other thing, probiotics in the digestive system. Pre and probiotics, very, very important. If you want serotonin to be produced in your child's body, in their digestive system, to send the right message to the happy hormone up to the brain, got to put some pre and probiotics in your child's digestive system, okay? The other thing, pretty easy, listening to music. Who would have thought? You can actually get serotonin in your kiddo's body by listening to music. That's pretty easy. In the morning, every morning, I play music as I'm making breakfast. My partner, he always playing music at dinner time, right? We are a music household. We love music, right? And so play music. It soothes the savage beast. Play music. Exercise, right? So what are you guys doing? Do you go for a family bike ride? Get out and do some physical activity. It helps to produce serotonin in the digestive system, not just for kids, but for adults too, okay? So dopamine, the next neurotransmitter, dopamine and norepinephrine, two of them, they both work as they work on double duty, being a hormone as well as a neurotransmitter. I'll do these two together. How can you get motivation, drive, interest, and energy into your child? How can you get more of that into your child? Well, let's say for dopamine, it needs tyrosine to be present, okay? And so when tyrosine is present, that means, okay, you're feeding your child pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised, not just free range, but we're making a difference because the chicken had an opportunity to forage for its own food. Here's the thing, the smarts of an animal, they can go in a field of grass and pick which blade of grass is more nutritious than the other. So that's why it's important to let the chickens and the cattle roam for their own food, because whatever they eat, those nutrients are passed on to the consumer. That's why that's uber important. Pasture raised is uber important, or 100% grass fed is going to be uber important. Okay. Beans, right? Legumes are amazing. But here's the thing. There can also be a trick to that. Make sure if you're wanting to make sure that you're feeding your kiddos these kinds of legumes, if you're in a hurry, you don't have time to, cook up beans, pressure cook. There are brands that actually pressure cook them in the can for you. Eden Foods, Westbray, and Jovial. Look for those brands, in your grocery store the next time you go, in the can section. Yes, beans are amazing. Some of the ones I love, black beans, garbanzo beans, are amazing for getting those nutrients in your kiddo's body so that the dopamine neurotransmitter as well as hormone can be released from the digestive system and send that up to the brain so your child can be more motivated, have a drive, have interest in, activities at school or even at home, right? To learn how to clean their room, to want to brush their teeth, right? To want to take a shower, right? So that's what we are working on from the inside out. Next, norepinephrine. Like I said, it does double duty, just like dopamine. And this is so important when it comes to initiating and completing tasks. And if your child doesn't have good focus or concentration, right? Norepinephrine is the hormone and neurotransmitter you need to work on. Okay, so where do you find this? You find it in specific foods, but dopamine needs to be present in order for norepinephrine to be released, right? So if we got the previous ones, we can get some norepinephrine. So we want to look for foods that are high in vitamin C. Some of the ones I love are kiwi. I love broccoli, papaya, right? Citrus fruits are amazing for getting those vitamin C rich nutrients in your child's body so that they can get that norepinephrine level up, okay? Also, pumpkin seeds, amazingly important. Copper, we don't talk about copper a lot, but pumpkin seeds and kale can do wonders for getting copper in your child's body to make sure that they are able to get that neurotransmitter up to the brain, okay? The other thing, very, very easy. I don't know anyone who can't do this one. How about watching a funny movie? Watching a funny movie or even spending time with pets, right? Actually releases norepinephrine in the digestive system so that it can go up to the brain. Who knew? Yes, yes, yes. Playing with pets and watching a funny movie helps norepinephrine to be released and dopamine to be released so that it can go to the brain and help your kiddo complete tasks and have better concentration. Excuse me. The last one I want to talk about is anxiety. I'm sorry, GABA. GABA is a very, very important neurotransmitter as it relates to anxiety. So if you're dealing with anxiety with your child, you want to think about the GABA levels that your child may have that are very, very low, right? And so also depression or insomnia, that's a big one. The insomnia is very, very big because if a child can't rest, any of the food that you feed them is pretty much pointless because actually sleep is a crucial, integral part of a healthy lifestyle. And, being able to think clearly, it's important for the child to sleep because that's when the brain does its work to distribute nutrients, to take out the trash, to take the toxins out, to let the body know, okay, now I can start working and distributing the nutrients where they need to go. So if your child is not resting, the brain can't rest, calm down the nervous system, and actually do its job. Very, very important. So if your child is experiencing insomnia or high anxiety, you need to work on getting those GABA levels up in your child's body, okay? So how do we get it? Where can we find it in food? Oatmeal, number one. Number two, seaweed. Number three, wild shrimp. Also, this one I love. If your kiddo is a child who loves cheese, like my 7-year-old, Parmesan, okay? But here's the difference, right? So you know I love to be very, very specific when I'm giving you this information. Parmigiano Reggiano, right? So there's a big difference in the hard cheeses, okay? So you want to get the ones that are made in Italy, the Italian or the French cheeses, because they actually are going to have the correct kind of bacteria in them, okay? So let's think about the bacteria, the specific strain of bacteria that we're looking for here in this particular cheese. So L. rhamnosus, Lactobacillus rhamnosus. It's hard to say that word, but I want to stress that to you all so that when you're looking for specific cheese, introducing this one is very, very crucial in helping to reduce anxiety in your child's body, because what's going to happen is that GABA level is going to increase, right? Your child, the sleeping issues can go away. The issues with, feeling like they're depressed or sad all the time, right? You can handle that, right? By what you feed them. Anxiety, if they're anxious about things, more worried than normal about certain things, yes, you can change that. So adding oatmeal to their breakfast time. Uncured salami. Applegate makes a wonderful brand of salami. Uncured, it's going to have that good bacteria in it. The aged hard cheeses, right? Not the Parmesan, not the American Parmesan. Okay, I want to make sure I'm clear. Not the American Parmesan. I'm talking about Parmigiano Reggiano. That's the one you're going to look for. Okay, because we know that it is made in Italy, or it's made whereby it's the control temperature is correct, the bacteria has has aged in it correctly, it was made in the form where the bacteria can actually help your child's digestive system. Okay. Wild shrimp, the other one, a great snack. Seaweed, very, very easy and simple to do, right? So I'm always packing seaweed in my kiddos' lunch boxes, because guess what? As their body use up the nutrients that they eat, you want to replenish. They have to get through the rest of the day. So yes, you need to pack snacks strategically to help them and help the teacher have a good day. Yes, we can do this, parents. We can do it. So seaweed, love putting seaweed in there because those are healthy omega-3 essential fatty acids that they are getting in their body. Also, iodine. Oh my God, do you know how important iodine is with helping the nervous system calm down? Uber, uber important, okay? Definitely. Iodine and getting that healthy fat from the omega-3 from the seaweed. Want to make sure you are including that in your kiddos' snacks, okay? And I think, let's see. Is that it? That's it. So, yes. Okay. So if you guys have not thought about like what you want to add into your kiddos' diets or how you're going to help them, I have a Kids Food Academy on Facebook that you can join and get this information. I have free training information where you can jot things down. Probably the questions you have in your head, I've done a free training on it. And so I encourage you to come over, make sure, number one, put your mask on first, make sure you are equipped to help your kiddo, okay? Number two, then you wanna think about what's going on underneath that anxiety, what's going on underneath your child's mood, right? If we don't give them the nutrients, thank you for the heart, Allie. If we don't give our kiddos the nutrients that they need, we don't give the digestive system the neurotransmitters that it needs to send up the correct messages to the brain, we get responses and behaviors that aren't that great, that we don't want to deal with. But we can do better by making a different choice, by feeding them different foods that can actually help the line of communication be much more clear, be nutritionally dense, and get a better kiddo that actually is responding how we want them to respond. And then, thank you, Allie. And then lastly, think about the nutrients that are going to supply and replenish the deficiency in your kiddo's digestive system and their brain, right? Anytime I work with my clients, we start working on the digestive system first because there's so much, so many things, so powerful the digestive system is, and how we can control the brain and how the body responds by what we put in there, okay? And so if you have any questions, I'd like to open the floor for questions at this time. If you have any questions, you can come off mute, ask me questions. Oh, I said I was going to check the chat, didn't I? Okay. Awesome, awesome.
Before we, thank you so much for coming on today. Before we take questions, just in case people do need to hop off a little early, let's go ahead and just share, the Kids Food Academy. And also you do have a great mailing list. And what are some of the other ways that parents are able to really tap into your expertise and work with you?
Oh, absolutely. So, so I have a free breakfast calendar that I like to share with parents. It's just to give you a jump start and then also inspire, other ideas in terms of how you can make more healthy breakfast options or either snacks for your kiddos. You can get that through bit.ly/breakfast_calendar. And you can download that breakfast calendar to your computer, to your phone. Use that, use it for inspiration, something to add to your repertoire, and test it out with your kiddos and see if they like it, And then in my group, my Kids Food Academy group, that is bit.ly/Kids Food Academy, all lowercase letters. And if they needed help with, what else would you like me to share? I don't know. I have EFT tapping for stress. Yeah. I have, that's really to help with, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, just making sure that you have what you need, to help your child. Leah had a question. I see a question. She said, I'm wondering if it's okay to take multiple adaptogens. Is there any you shouldn't combine or could take too much of? Leah, as it relates to adaptogens, I would definitely want to speak with you directly, because I don't like to give general information like that, because each child and situation is different. And so because of bio-individuality, you never want to just give one single answer that works for everybody, because that's not true.
And Loena, I might just go ahead and stop the recording. That way people can come on video if they want to. We have thank you so much for being our guest today, Loena, and really for our being our nutrition detective for our family. So thank you so much for your time today.